Earth Day has been relabeled Mother Earth Day, and it is a time to recognize the significance of our natural surroundings and our environment. I know that for those of you who've been paying close attention to the elections, we hear a lot about all sorts of issues, but and the environment does come up as an issue, but the point is that the environment is part of the basis of what makes life possible. So it really shouldn't be just one issue of many issues. It should be the bedrock foundation under which we are able to support economic activity and all of the other activities that we prize so much. It's so important to recognize the importance of clean, potable water. It's so important to recognize that we cannot pollute the air, pollute the water, and pollute the soil in which we grow our food. And we have partaken in activities over the past several decades that puts us very much out of touch with the natural world. So we find that this mandate to make profit, to make money, is directing us to make suspect choices. For example, putting a nuclear reactor on an earthquake fault, as we're seeing the ramifications of that. I mean, unfortunately, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we're seeing radioactivity leaching out of that, the plants that were hit by the earthquake and then the typhoon. And so there's a lot of radioactive material that's affecting the food supply, and it's not just confined to Japan. So we're finding, of course, I'm sure most of you are aware by now of the amount of activity that we put into burning fossil fuels, coal, oil, natural gas. Turns out that there's a lot of, it emits greenhouse gases, which we do know traps that infrared radiation and causes that heating effect that is resulting, is a variable in the way the climate is changing. We know that there's not only is the impact, the pollution coming from that sort of activity affecting our lives, but there's also the fact that we have been so dependent on these resources that now they're starting to become depleted. It's something that's called peak oil, where we're finding that as our demand is growing, the cheap, accessible oil and natural gas, which are the main energies that make the way of life that we become accustomed to possible, but that cheap, accessible resources aren't there as much anymore, and that's going to have an impact on everything that all of our economic activity. I mean, you're seeing it at the pumps right now, the high cost of gas, but that's also going to impact the cost of food, because somebody's got to truck that food in from the farm. Somebody's got to process the food. We're seeing an unsustainable use of our, agriculturally. Topsoil is becoming depleted. And so we have to become more and more reliant again on fertilizers that are made from natural gas, which is, last time I checked, we are actually past our peak of natural gas. We also have the tremendous concern worldwide of a water crisis, and that's something that our chapter has been particularly concerned about, and particularly the way certain private interests, like the company Veolia, are seeking to capitalize on that, recognizing that this is potentially very profitable as water resources and water distribution systems. Well, water distribution systems and infrastructure is becoming deteriorated all over the world, and so there's a lot of money that needs to be invested in in rebuilding that infrastructure. And of course, you have companies like Veolia, Suez, and others that are looking to profit from that. You have water problems, shortages that are happening. And notwithstanding what some people might say about the hydrologic cycle, where, well, the water evaporates, forms clouds, comes back down in the form of rain, but it turns out that the problem is that we're seeing a lot of that water being polluted. Bad agricultural practices sees us taking water, increasingly mining it out of aquifers that it's taken millennia to build up. And of course, the snow caps on mountains and glaciers are melting, and that is a major source of a lot of the water that we're drawing our drinking water from. And so, if that melts, we're going to see less water available, except in the instance of an occasional flood. So we have major, serious concerns, and they should not be sort of on the back burner in a federal election. This is called the 7th generation walk for Mother Earth, and our Indigenous brothers and sisters, they've talked about how we should be thinking 7 generations ahead, just like 7 generations ago our ancestors were thinking of us today. We have to be thinking 7 generations. And what do we want in the year 2150? What do we want our great grandchildren? What kind of a world do we want them to live in? Will they care that some cabinet minister in Stephen Harper's government doctored a document after it was signed? Will they care that Michael Ignatieff is just visiting? Will they care that Elizabeth May picks her nose, or whatever it is they're using as attack ads? We need to have substantive policy discussions, and not even just in the context of an election. I would say especially during election, but it should be ongoing. And I think that part of the answer has to involve creating new relationships. It's a good place to start is right here, right now, building some relationships, meeting each other, really listening and talking and discussing some of the major concerns that we have, and building a relationship with our Mother Earth. And we need to rethink the way we do consumerism. Profit can't determine everything. We recently showed a film called Living Without Money, in which it really should cause us to rethink the way our relationship with money and the money system. There's something really wrong with an economy built on the notion of infinite economic growth. It's been said that infinite economic growth on a finite planet is the ideology of a cancer cell. You can't keep growing the economy, especially if resources are becoming more and more depleted. So at some point, something's got to crack. And should that point come, I think that we need to build that foundation among and between ourselves. And from that, we can begin to start giving direction to those people we call our leaders. And not just government leaders, but people in the economic realm as well. We need to start supporting each other and building that foundation and establishing a strong, prosperous, and not just prosperous in terms of resources, but prosperous in terms of the human spirit. And I believe that should we accomplish those things, then 7 generations down the line, I think I look forward to our great-grandchildren saying, thank you for doing what you could to help us out and give us this future. It's something worth looking forward to. It's really all we have to look forward to, because if we don't have that 7th generation to think about, well, what are we doing here?
All right. Give thanks for the water. Give thanks for the wind. Give thanks for the tree that become the boat that I'm floating in. Give thanks for the water. Give thanks for the wind. Give thanks for the breeze that becomes upstream paddling. And then we go say, give thanks for the water. Give thanks for the wind. Give thanks for the tree that become the boat that I float in. Give thanks for the water. Give thanks for the wind. Give thanks for the breeze that helps with my upstream paddling. And then we go say, give thanks, thank you. Give thanks so much. Give thanks for the directions I'm feeling in touch. Hey, give thanks, thank you. Give thanks so much. Give thanks for the connections I'm finally in touch. Then we go back to give thanks for the water. Give thanks for the wind. Give thanks for the smallest and the biggest that they bring in and bring. Sing, give thanks for the water. Give thanks for the wind. Give thanks for everyone, everywhere and everything. And then it back with give thanks, thank you. Come on, give thanks so much. Give thanks for the directions I'm finally in touch. No, give thanks, thank you. Give thanks so much. Give thanks for the connections I'm finally in touch. Let's go, Joey. Bum, 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 bum. I'm finally in time. Give thanks, thank you.
Eons and trillions and billions of molecules of water in my veins, swirling around in my gray matter, called subconsciousness. Subconsciously I click on to see me cry whilst I look outside and I see a blue sky, trees with no leaves and brown grass as I light up my spliff. And I breathe deep. Ooh, sweet mother gives me this treat to ease my pain deep in my bones, baby, deep in my bones. One butterfly on my barren garden as my earth waits for spring, which is late. I lay in bed with grandmother on my face and I contemplate the dust of the butterfly deep in my belly, swirling and twirling my subconsciousness while I lie in bed and I bleed. Peace.
I sent this to George Stroumboulopoulos because he says he loves polar bears, but he never got back to me. Platypus, pretty please. Buzz cuts for polar bears. My devotion, an ocean rich with fish, to people the seas. Mongoose, lions, platypus, pretty please. Koalas, orangs, chimpanzees. Horses, cats, dogs, whatever else may be. Will there be wallabies? Kangaroos, giraffes, polar bears, and manatees? Marmosets and martinets? No, pardon me. That would be a spiteful regent or ruler, president or prime minister, fascist or wannabe who has helped fashion our history into the mess the mass always sees. And as we know, oxygen is reconstituted from trees. So it should be evident with this year's early burning of the leaves that it should be easy to believe the ozone layer is a sieve, and we are creating a world that just can't live because the parasites, the money men, concocted, contracted, exacted to continue the process to extract plunder from largesse, not to lament nor to repent, only to misrepresent a la a new age serpent, to divide and create dissent. Now, buzz cuts for polar bears will mean more land for private golf courses way up there. And money from the mania becomes the regress of progress as the masters reassess the process to divert and deprive. the unity of humanity to the point of bankrupting society and savaging our world in their rapacity, in their capacity as wardens of Earth's history, vampires of human destiny. Jonathan Swift and later the rock band Crocus said it so well. Eat the rich, out of the palace, into the ditch. But that's just me.
My name is Chrissy Swain and I'm from Grassy Narrows. I guess I'll give you a little history about Grassy. In the 1970s, there was they discovered mercury pollution in the water, and some of our people were getting sick from the mercury. And still today, there's still people that are sick and that are being born with birth defects or illnesses. And in 2002, we put up a blockade against clear cutting. But for us, it wasn't just about clear cutting. It was about everything that's on the land, the water, the animals, and us, the people that live there. It's our way of life. It's who we are as Anishinaabe. We still hunt, we fish, we still use the medicines, we pick the berries. And today, the chief and council of our community are talking with the province. I guess, trying to work things out. But for me personally, because of my children and because of everything that I've lost and that my children are losing, I'm still going to stand up there. I'm still going to fight for my children, for their right to be Anishinaabe, because without that land, we can't be Anishinaabe. In 2001, I gave birth to my daughter Carissa, and at that time there was a woman that was beaten to death by her husband. And there's this song that came to me. I sang this song to my baby because I thought about everything that she has to go through as a woman when she becomes a woman. Everything that she has to face, especially being Anishinaabe Kwe. And this song came to me to give her strength. So when the blockade came up, this is the song we sang so that we would pray for the earth, because the earth is a woman and this is what she faces every day. So we're going to share that song. Since the focus is on water, that I wanted to share a teaching that one of my good friends shared with me. When he seen me, I was running the tap water, and I filled up my glass of water, and I drank half of it, and I poured the rest back into the sink. And he told me to stop being so wasteful, because water is precious. Water gives life, and that water is a healer for us, for our bodies, and that water is important for the earth too. That we have to take care of that water. So that's it. Big Welch.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy to be here today. My name is Celestrya Carr and I'm a student at the University of Manitoba. I'm here to talk to you about my work on missing and murdered Aboriginal women and the systemic violence Aboriginal women are subject to. Over the past 20 years, approximately 582 Aboriginal women have gone missing in communities across Canada. These instances, which are growing by the day, demand our immediate attention. I want you to know that the women I'm speaking on behalf of here today are our mothers, our sisters, and our daughters. Traditionally, women played a major central role in the family. They were responsible for domestic relationships and were viewed both as life givers and the caretakers of life. Little has changed in my culture. These women who have passed on or have gone missing were leaders, academics, some were addicts, some were prostitutes. But the end result is the same for all. We were all victims of marginalization. The ongoing marginalization of Aboriginal women has made them one of the most vulnerable groups in Canadian society. It is necessary to acknowledge that these women were targeted victims by their attackers, not because of how these women lived or what they did, but because of whom they knew. These women were targeted because crimes against our Aboriginal mothers, sisters, and daughters are trivialized. Individual blame is placed on the victim, and the violence that these women experienced is dismissed as insignificant in mainstream society. One might ask, why are Aboriginal women victims? From an Aboriginal perspective and from personal experience, racial discrimination and misogyny is unfortunately prevalent in this country, and it must come to an end.
It's really a community event at this point where everyone just knows, like homing pigeons, to show up on Earth Day or the day around it. So last year it was the 7th annual 7th Generation Walk for Mother Earth. The solidarity movement is growing. When people say it's a Native issue, no, it's an issue for everyone who lives on this land, who calls himself a Canadian. For you, it's an issue for everybody that Indigenous land rights continue to be trampled upon, that lands get sold out to large corporations every single minute, every single day. They are being destroyed, the water is being polluted, whether it's the tar sands, whether it's the people of Barrier Lake, whether it's our friends of Grassy Narrows, and we are still and will always be friends of Grassy Narrows. Whatever happens. So I just want to share the statement that we've written, and we're asking people to sign on to it. We mailed it to all the candidates in the federal election a little too late to get a lot of response, though we did hear back from a few people from the Communist Party and from a couple of the Green Party candidates and from one independent. But we didn't do it so systematically that it's worth really enumerating as an official response. But nonetheless, we're going to work on this, and we need help spreading this statement and, encourage people to make other statements. And these are just words on paper. What's really needed is action. And the reason I say we are still friends of Grassy Narrows is because maybe we spread ourselves a little thin in the last few years working on this struggle and that. There's been a group that was formed nationally called Defenders of the Land. There are First Nations activists from every community in Canada now coming together who are doing direct action and sharing stories and strategies. And one of these years there will be an action in every community on the same day, direct action. And at the Outer Circle was a lot of non-Native solidarity activists, like people in our group, like myself, like Thor, like many others who are here today. And right now, this weekend is the third Defenders of the Land gathering. It's in Ottawa this year. The first one was in Winnipeg and the second in Vancouver. You can check their website out, defendersoftheland.org. In addition to this event, we are very active planning an Indigenous Sovereignty Week, and it's usually going to happen in October and November, so we could use a lot more hands and promotion to get that event happening this fall. Okay?
All kinds of crazy noises coming at us today here at the Hydro building. I'm going to ask now for Albertine to speak to everyone. And well, you can tell people where you're from.
Tante.
Tante.
Tante. Tante in our language means greetings. How are you? Tatasquiac is near Thompson, about an hour east, and we're surrounded by hydro development projects. Tatasquiac became a settlement because it had tall trees, and we had such a wonderful relationship with the land, and we noticed there was something really special about this location other than its fishing, was the tall trees, and they had two heads, not one, so they were split, so that's why it's called Split Lake, the Tatasquiac and Cree. And hydro development is being sold as clean, renewable energy, and we know it is anything but clean, renewable energy. There are so many effects to hydro development, and I know last week there was a meeting with natural resources and fishermen, and they're talking about that species sturgeon. Sturgeon has survived thousands of years from the dinosaur age, and now it's on the brink of extinction because we're changing its habitat, not only through hydro development, but there's other effluents and poisons that are going into the Nelson River, and it's changing the habitat for the sturgeon fish to even survive. There's so much waste, energy waste with today's society. We waste so much energy, even in developing these hydro development projects. There's a lot of trees that are being leveled, and shorelines are being, soil is being lost to flood these lands for the hydro development. And there were so many dams that are up already. Like, how much energy do we need? You know, you look across the border and you see all these nuclear energy sites, and how much energy does this society need? You count all the reactors that are in the United States or in Canada, and all these hydro development projects across the country. And who's funding these hydro development projects? Who's funding this building? And who's dictating our economy? People are organizations like International Monetary Fund and World Banks. Like, this has got to stop. You know, they're profiting, or there's all this wasted energy on the backs of First Nations people, because, you know, fishermen can't eat the fish. They can't. They don't even want to feed it to their dogs because there's tumors on the fish, and the mercury levels are high. And now, okay, Canadian standards don't want the fishermen to sell it to Canadians because the mercury levels are a little bit lower, but they want to sell it to the United States because the mercury levels can be sold at higher levels. You know, like, there's so many rippling effects to hydro development, and it's being sold as clean, renewable energy. You know, and then they're talking about job losses at Thompson with Valley Inco. And, you know, there's a dam just for Valley Inco alone called Kelsey Dam. And they're talking about job losses. Well, why is hydro government, or the hydro development project and Manitoba government, who is the NDP right now, why are they bringing in plane loads of laborers from Quebec to run Wesquatum and Bipolar 3 when there's, you know, people that live in the north that need jobs? I don't understand this. I'm so confused about these governments, you know. I don't understand why they make the decisions they do. But I think that people need to be informed by coming to events like this and keeping democracy alive and saving our planet, because when we look at it as an infinite amount of resources, we liquidate it, and this is wealth. That's a poor measure, because wealth should be on our well-being of arts, well-being of our health, how we volunteer, how we interact with the land in a healthy way, because we take care of the land, and we've proven this for many generations. If we take care of the land takes care of us. And just because we had these nice technologies like canoes and different way of living, that doesn't make us primitive. We looked after the land for thousands of years. And look at this technology today. It's damaging.
with thanks for the people who've spoken, let's have a walk to the forks and have a water ceremony there.
fish are jumping, and the party is high. Oh, your parents are rich, and they both are good looking. So hush, little baby, don't you cry.